I want to get to Cecil the lion. And there are so many dimensions to this story. So just for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, first of all, it's been all over the media, but there was this lion in Zimbabwe in a game park that had been tracked for years by a group of wildlife trackers out of Oxford University. Their website, by the way, which is down right now, and I think it's because Jimmy Kimmel talked about this last night on TV, and his video has gone viral, and he put their website out, and they probably just have a little server at the university, and they can't handle the traffic. So you might want to write it down and go visit it tonight or tomorrow or the day after tomorrow when the website recovers from all the load it's got right now. But the website is wildcru.org, wildcru.org. And Jimmy Kimmel did a great job with this last night. The net bottom line of this is that this American dentist from Minnesota, who is apparently now in hiding, Walter Palmer is his name, who in the past has killed leopards and bears and rhinoceroses. He paid $50,000 to go off to Africa and to Zimbabwe and kill a lion. And so I wanted to share my thoughts on this with you and get some of yours. I grew up in Michigan. Deer in Michigan, they refer to them as road rats. I mean, they're so numerous. You can't drive down the freeway in Michigan, in the spring or fall particularly, and not see a dead deer along the road. There's just so many. My brother lives in a rural part of Michigan. The biggest problem he's got is the deer are constantly eating his garden. We lived in downtown Montpelier, Vermont, and the deer ate our garden. So, I grew up around a culture where my friends would go out. My dad was not a hunter. My dad would have nothing to do with guns. So I didn't experience this personally, and I've never been hunting with any of my friends. But I have friends who would go hunting every fall and in Michigan. And when we lived in Vermont, we knew people who hunted. And they'd hunt deer, by and large. And they would eat it. I mean, they'd literally, they'd shoot a deer in the winter and eat it all winter long. Now, people who are horrified about hunting in general, I would say, if you're not a vegan, and I mean a real vegan, I'm not a real vegan. I don't eat meat. I haven't eaten meat since I was 16 years old, red meat. Actually, I took one bite of a hamburger when I was 17. I had to pull over the side of the road and throw it up, but I just remembered that taste of Burger King. So, and then I started saying, I'll have a cheese Whopper, no meat. And but anyway, but I'm wearing leather shoes right now and a leather belt, so I can't hold myself out as a paragon of virtue. But unless you're taking nothing from our factory farming industry, which includes eggs, by the way, and cheese, unless you literally set all that stuff aside, you really don't have a moral position with regard to hunting for food. And here's why, from my point of view. Somebody goes out and shoots a deer and then eats it. That deer spent years of its life out in the wild having a good life. And then somebody comes along and kills it and eats it. Okay, fine. What about the cow that you're having for lunch? Or the pig, or the chicken, which spent its entire life in a cage, a horrible existence, sores, antibiotics, pumped full of hormones and steroids, miserable life, and then taken to a slaughterhouse where they can hear all the other animals dying, they can smell the death, they're scared to death, and they're slaughtered, and I mean, it's just. Frankly, our factory food system in America, I think, is more brutal and more inhumane by an order of magnitude than people who go hunting for food. Okay, so let me just move that out of the way. Because what this dentist did, this Walter Palmer guy from Minnesota, what he did was not hunting for food. In fact, when they went to Zimbabwe and they killed Cecil, the lion, they cut his head off, skinned him so that they had, a nice rug, and then left his carcass there. I mean, well, you wouldn't eat lion meat anyway because lions are predators, and predator meat is not healthy and it doesn't taste good. But it's like, this is, in my opinion, sick. There's no other way to describe it. I think it's sick. And so the question I'm asking is the revulsion around what Mr. Palmer did, Walter Palmer did in going to Zimbabwe and paying $50,000 to kill a lion, that is sweeping America and presumably much of the developed world, is that an indication of a change in the times? Because I would say, you know, if this was in the 1950s, when I was a little kid, I remember, you know, movie stars would go on safaris to kill things. Wall Street executives would go on safaris and kill things. And they were kind of congratulated for it. I mean, it was like a big deal. Which, as I said, is a completely different thing from people who hunt for meat. In fact, I think hunting for meat is more honest than going to the supermarket and buying the product of an industry that tortures animals. And this dentist was doing bow and arrow hunting. He shot this lion, and he didn't kill it. They had to track the lion for 40 hours before they found this wounded lion, and then shoot him with a gun. So, number one, is the outrage a sign that we are becoming more humane? And in fact, might this translate, now that we know that, by the way, it's healthier to eat a mostly plant or all plant diet, could this even be the beginning of a turning point where Americans say, you know, enough of torturing animals, period. We are torturing billions of animals for, quote, food that we don't need, that consumes the resources of the planet, that produces mind-boggling amount of waste. I mean, look at the people who live near these factory farms around the United States. Could this be the beginning of a serious turning point that will actually leave us all healthier and leave the world less scarred? We'll be back.